Since the celebration of the 150th anniversary of the Brigade in 2016, we are delighted that the Brigade has gone on from strength to strength. As a result of that celebration, the Brigade was proud and delighted to receive the highest honour which can be bestowed by the local authority when we received the freedom of the Borough of South Tyneside in 2017. It was a remarkable achievement, and we were delighted to join the handful of recipients since that award was instituted. Furthermore, since then, the Brigade has gone on to develop its work and its fundraising aspects, its operational work, and that has resulted in the achievement and great honour this year, 2021, of the award of the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. We are especially delighted to have received this high honour, the highest award which can be given to volunteer groups in the UK, the equivalent of the MBE, and in addition, we are even more proud to have been given special recognition for our work during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Brigade has continued to have a healthy number of new recruits coming through the doors, and we're pleased that we are able to go on maintaining the great tradition of being always ready to support those in need around the rivers and coasts of South Tyneside. Long may the Brigade continue. This film records the history and heritage of the Brigade from its beginnings in 1866, with that wonderful achievement of the first life to be saved by the breeches boy way back in April 1866. All of its history and heritage are portrayed and commemorated in this film, and in particular it refers to the many people over the years who have contributed their time, energy and effort to making the Volunteer Life Brigade always ready. And we're pleased that you will have the opportunity to enjoy this film.
Queen Victoria was on the throne and would be for another 35 years. Jesse James carried out the first daylight bank robbery. The British Prime Minister Lord Russell resigned. Banks were collapsing. And on January the 30th, 1866, the Board of Trade formally accepted the services of South Shields Volunteer Life Brigade. It was a powerful desire to save lives that led to the establishment of 500 volunteer life brigades throughout the country. The catalyst for establishing the South Shields Brigade can perhaps be found on November 24th, 1864, in the wreck of the Aberdeen steamer Stanley, when 25 crew died, along with 2 lifeboatmen from Tynemouth. Spectators had stood helpless, watching the ship and crew perish on the Black Middens rocks. This feeling of helplessness led to the birth of the Brigade and their adopting of the South Shields town motto, "Always Ready," and creating the watch house on the South Pier at South Shields. The Brigade is rightly proud of being the first to use the breeches buoy on April 2nd, 1866. The schooner, the Tenterden of Sunderland, was wrecked on the South Pier. The Brigade saved 7 lives. A reenactment was staged on the South Pier to commemorate the first use of the breeches buoy. With the cooperation of the North East Maritime Trust, the restored fishing boat, Rachel Douglas, acted as the Tenterden. This is a rare chance to see the breeches buoy being used. This need to do something runs throughout the Brigade, and it burns as strongly now as it did 150 years ago. Today, members give up their time and volunteer to help regardless. This proud tradition has survived from the Brigade's first Honorary Secretary, Samuel Malcolm, who served from its origin for 69 years.
The Volunteer Life Brigade, of course, was formed at the behest of a group of people led by Mr. Malcolm and people like him who were appalled at the loss of life from the wreck of the Stanley, which occurred on the Black Middens at Tynemouth, which led to the formation of the Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade in 1864, it being the first to be formed, and the South Shields Volunteer Life Brigade followed some 11 months later in January 1866, when, at the behest of a group of people who petitioned the Mayor, Alderman Thomas Moffat, a public meeting was called and was held in the old South Shields Town Hall in the marketplace, and a remarkable number of over 140 men enrolled to be members of the Volunteer Life Brigade.
I think in the 1860s it was a very important publicly to have a brigade, and my understanding is that when they formed the brigades there was about 100 people in the brigade, and there was waiting lists, and it was a matter of pride to actually join the brigade, and the people who were the officers and the leading lights in the brigade were the pillars of society in South Shields.
I've been a member here for 46 years, and for 43 years of those I've been privileged and honoured to be the Honorary Secretary. Of course, it's the post which was occupied for many, many years by the founding father of the Volunteer Life Brigade, Mr. Samuel Malcolm, who was here for a remarkable span of years from the beginning in 1866, when he was very much the driving force behind the formation of the brigade, the building of the watch house, and the development of the watch house and the equipment. He remained as the first secretary and sometimes treasurer, and then went on in 1906 to become the first president of the brigade.
It was actually a family tradition to be a member of the brigade. My uncle was the secretary for many years. My father had always been a member. His other brother had been an active member and a captain of the brigade, I believe. We were a seafaring family in the background, and so I think there was an awareness that rescue was an important element of any seafarer's life. They hoped there would be somebody there if they were ever in need.
Now 88 years of age, I joined the brigade when I first came out of the Royal Air Force in 1949. We've always had a very keen brigade.
My connection with South Shields Volunteer Life Brigade goes back to my very early days. My father was a member of the brigade. He joined the brigade just after the war because his brother-in-law, Don Tinning, was been a member since he joined as a Sea Scout to obtain a badge, and he remained a lifelong member of the brigade.
I was the first lady member of the brigade. It was amazing how many of the family was in the brigade. Even my 3 sons were in the brigade for a short while. My father was the senior captain of the brigade for many years. He was awarded the MBE for all his work. My husband went to sea, and when he came home, he'd come down and give a hand when there was drills on, or even call-outs.
It was obviously very exciting and memorable as a 14-year-old to be involved in something like that, and as soon as I was old enough I joined the brigade as a full-time member and was involved in various cliff rescues and obviously in the regular training sessions which are necessary to have an efficient Coast Guard team.
When we first joined, the big emphasis was we had competitions every year for various cups and trophies. And the purpose of the competitions were to keep the efficiency of the brigade up, and we used to train regularly every Monday night down at the brigade house. And we used to have competitions with Sunderland, Tynemouth, Blythe.
We won the Elizabethan Trophy on a couple of occasions while I was a member, and on one occasion the silver trophy that we'd won was handed around filled with champagne, and everyone took a sip from the trophy, and then it was realised that the champagne had stripped the silver plating off the trophy, so we secretly had to get the trophy re-silvered before we handed it back the next year.
We were allowed to join the brigade as Coast Guards in '63 following the wreck of the Adele Fortis, in which the brigade was one of the participant companies, along with Tynemouth and Sunderland. And the Coast Guard allowed the younger members, who were members of the local scout group, to join at the age of 16, which was very unusual.
The St John's Sea Scouts at the Town Hall always had an association with the Volunteer Life Brigade, because the fathers and obviously the sons following on were introduced at a fairly young age to the brigade.
I've been coming down here since I was probably about 5 years old, and I became a member when officially you could become a member of the Coast Guard at 18, so I've been a member of the brigade now for almost 42 years. So I've seen the change from when we used to practice breaches buoy rescue to the brigade's current role as coast and cliff rescue.
Almost 100 years after the tragic events of 1864, when spectators watched helplessly as 27 lost their lives, the brigade was called into action.
Colour codes radio. Colour codes radio. Following receive at 0227 GMT.
Then another rocket line was fired.
On January the 20th, 1963, the Lebanese steamer, the Adele Fortis, was blown onto the Herd Sands near the Groyne.
It was the start of one of the most dramatic rescue operations ever carried out on the northeast coast. Then the stricken ship, with 22 men on board, struggled to the Tyne. In the harbour mouth, huge waves flung her against the Black Midden rocks. And then, as she was being swept onto the Herd Sands at South Shields, Tynemouth Coast Guard called out the volunteer life-saving companies of South Shields and Sunderland. The rescue operation was on.
When the Adele Fortis went aground, I was at college in Southampton. The first I knew about it was when I read the cuttings in the Shields Gazette, which your mother sent to me. So that was the first I knew about it.
I was on casualty at the England Infirmary, looking after the sailors when they were brought in. They were soaking wet, you know, and really shivering. You know, I had to wrap them up in blankets. We even had a little dog, you know, was on the ship, was brought in. We made a little coat for him. And their eyes, and even some of the members, you know, who'd been pulling on the ropes, their eyes, my dad's glasses were absolutely shattered with the sand, you know, blowing in their faces. It was quite horrendous, you know, what they went through.
There was some of the Tynemouth Brigade came across on a rowing boat to help us with the rescue. Sunderland, of course, were ordered down to help us as well, and without the combined help of everybody, it would have been a much more difficult job. The conditions that particular night were atrocious. One of the brigade's men had new glasses on and they were sandblasted. He had to throw them away.
My father was a member of the brigade and had been for many years, and when we had the call, when the Adele Fortis went aground, he took myself, a 14-year-old, and my elder brother, who was 16, along to the rescue, and we did actually hands-on help with the rescue. We weren't just spectators.
Some of the lifesavers had the special job of grabbing the seamen in the freezing water, and the same rescuers went in time and again. One of them had to be taken to hospital after his long ordeal in the waves. One of the Greek seamen collapsed unconscious in the water and had to be dragged up onto the beach. Some quick first aid treatment. After a few minutes, the seaman recovered.
The wind was so strong that the life-saving men had to act as human anchors to hold down their breeches buoy rigging. The rescue of the 22 seamen, including their skipper, took 2 hours.
It's really windy outside at present, but on that night it was more windy than I ever remember in the whole time I lived in South Shields. Very, very strong wind, very painful to be in the shop blasting, sand blowing off the beach. And we did manhandle the trailer with all the equipment as well, because the lorry broke down, I believe, and it was quite hard to get the gear to the spot, but we managed, and we succeeded in rescuing the crew and the dog that was on board.
In South Shields. At 10 minutes to 11 yesterday morning, all the crew of the crippled ship were on shore, tired, wet, but safe. This was due to the courage and determination of many people. The voluntary life-saving companies, the Coast Guard, the police, ambulance men, and observers.
And that incident led to a resurgence of interest in the brigade, and all talk, which had been gathering pace in the early 60s about the possible disbandment of volunteer life brigades, was forgotten about, and the brigade went on to a new period of revived interest in its work.
Just as they were the first to use the breeches buoy, the brigade over the years has been to the forefront in implementing modern methods and equipment, frequently helping our Coast Guards.
I think the brigade for 150 years has sort of ploughed a furrow of good techniques, and it's equipment that's changed. You've got better. We use climbing equipment now to do cliff rescue, where it used to be manila ropes and very basic equipment, and hauling people up the cliff could be as bad as falling down the cliff. Sometimes it was quite harsh, but now with modern rope rescue techniques, it's a lot simpler and a lot more comfortable for the casualty as well.
My role in the brigade currently is a captain. I'm in overall charge in terms of organising training, events. Just the general running of the brigade as an overseer.
I've been a brigade member for 4 years now. I'm currently an operational member, and I'm shortly, hopefully, going to become a technician, which enables us to go over the cliffs on the ropes unassisted.
Yeah, we're on call 365 days a year, 7 days a week. Whenever we've got time available, we're in for training activities, involved in quite a lot of incidents throughout the year. Again, like I say, I take part in a lot of the training activities, looking after the guys, making sure their training competencies are up to date, just so we're working to the correct standards of the Coast Guard. In
terms of rescues over the years, I've been involved in countless incidences. There's a few stick out in the mind. We've won quite recently quite a dramatic rescue of 3 children from the cliffs along the Lees just past Frenchman's Bay. They've been cut off by the tide and were basically clinging onto the rocks and pleading for their lives. The brigade set up the rope rescue equipment, and the kids were all rescued safely thanks to the endeavours of the brigade.
Yeah, I've been involved in numerous rescues, some from little things, taking details of vessels that RNLI have brought ashore, right up to major trauma incidents, working alongside fire, ambulance, police, RNLI, full range. It's great working incidents, say cross-training and whatnot, so it can be really rewarding. Difficult at times, but very rewarding at the same time.
A particular one that stands out unfortunately, it was a body recovery on Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock in the morning, which wasn't very pleasant, but then I had to go to work afterwards, and basically it was just something that had to be done, so we're there and we did it,
At the Pierhead car park, a reenactment of the brigade's first ever drill took place. The members took a step back in time on the exact place and date of that first drill. The South Shields Brigade was assisted by colleagues from Tynemouth and the Sunderland Brigades, the last 3 in the country.
Well, it was just, I suppose it's nice to see how our predecessors worked compared to how we do it now. I mean, if you compare the two, it was a lot harder work in them days. All the equipment was bigger, stronger, heavier compared to what we use now, you know.
Looking today at the watch house, which is often called the TARDIS, with its treasure trove of artefacts capturing their history, you can sense not only tremendous pride in their achievements, but of all the men and women who have given so much of their lives for 150 years. This is the time to celebrate the Brigade's remarkable work. It is appropriate that their anniversary dinner be held in a hotel near the mouth of the Tyne. The coast and river have been at the heart of the Brigade's endeavours. Long may South Shields Volunteer Life Brigade survive and keep us safe.
I'm proud to have been a member of it. I would still be an active member, but I unfortunately live in the south of England now, so can't participate. But I do come back from time to time, and it's always good to catch up with friends and to hear news of the rescues that they continue to do and continue to be involved in.
The Brigade's 150th anniversary is obviously a really important landmark to be celebrated. It was really nice to get all the brigades together, all 3 volunteer life brigades, as well as our supporters. Everyone had a great night. It was really successful, and it just formed part of the celebrations as a whole.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere at the Brigade meal. It was just capped off a really good day. We done our Breeches Boy demonstration that day, which was a big part of our anniversary. Went fantastic. It was great watching the supporters and other brigades people coming in. It was nice, good toasts, and it was just a really nice atmosphere. Everybody just got on with it, and it was a really enjoyable evening.
We have continued in the same spirit of volunteer service that led those people to be motivated to set up this free voluntary service to help those in need around the coast. And I'm very proud that we've been able to continue that excellent life-saving tradition, and in the complete spirit of every single member of the brigade is volunteer and was a volunteer in the beginning and continues to be a volunteer, and that is a remarkable record.
We have generations of brigadesmen and women present here tonight in this fine setting. It's self-illustrative of how the baton has been and continues to be passed on. Let this then be a celebration of not only a distinguished past, but also a vibrant present and a bright future. Please have a lovely evening.